Good afternoon. We continue to work in the fields of the PMEF summit. We have Dmitry Peskov in our studio. We are very glad that you are with us again in this studio. Dmitry Sergeyevich, this is, of course, the first question, the most relevant. Did the president manage to read Zelensky's letter, which he so intentionally threw in at the moment when Vladimir Vladimirovich was communicating with the foreign press?
Yes. We have already sent a written version at night, and we have also printed out the mass media. We sent it to the president. He read it and reported various reactions of world leaders to it. That's why we reported it to the president.
Was there any reaction that you can tell us now?
No. Listen, I am sure that now there will be a plenary session, and I can assume with a high degree of probability that this topic will somehow appear. Therefore, I would not like to run ahead.
Dmitry Sergeyevich, again today the U.S. Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives, adopted a bill on new sanctions against Russia in support of Ukraine and in support of the military in the Baltic states. How does this combine with the White House's statements that it is ready to resolve the conflict, that it is ready for negotiations and dialogue?
Well, listen. The White House's position on the one hand is consistent, and on the other hand, as in all world affairs, it is very contradictory. It is consistent from the point of view of what Secretary of State Rubio recently stated, who said that in general, of course, we support only one side, that is Ukraine, and we supply weapons there, and so on. That is, this is really a war that was the war of Biden, and in fact, Biden directly dragged the U.S. into this conflict. Partly, this trend continues, and here we are not inclined to wear pink glasses or to be overly charmed by the United States. We should all be charmed, first of all, by our national interests. And, on the other hand, world affairs are arranged in such a way that despite the significant contradictions in the statements, and so on, specific matters are important. And on specific matters, we see indeed the sincere desire of President Trump and some members of his team to help resolve the Ukrainian conflict. This mission of good services is expensive. We highly appreciate it, and we are grateful to the Americans for this. The other thing is that at first they thought that it would be very easy. We warned from the very beginning that it cannot be easy. It is too complicated a problem. Nevertheless, we still hope that the pause that has now formed will be broken and some contacts will be renewed. Moreover, we continue to communicate with the Americans on the available channels, and let's move on. But of course, everything will depend on the Kyiv regime.
Should we expect a meeting between Vladimir Vladimirovich and Donald Trump in the near future? In what formats?
There are no such plans yet. It is obvious that in order for the meeting to take place, good domestic work should be done in terms of the promotion of the peaceful track of Ukrainian regulation. Unfortunately, we cannot state this yet.
Dmitry Sergeyevich, in recent years, the West has not paid as much attention to the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum as it does now. Now, even an official representative has arrived. In an interview with our portal, it was said that our sources have become aware that there is already too much confrontation between Berlin and Moscow. It's time to intervene and somehow develop this story. Dmitry Sergeyevich, how could you explain the sudden revival of the West's interest in this forum?
You know, I would not exaggerate the revival of the West's interest, and would not exaggerate the significance of the arrival of some emissaries. The main thing is the interest that the Western business is showing, and it is showing. And even if it is not here, they are all waiting for the president's speech today, the president's statement during the panel session. For them, it is important to understand the main vector, where Russia is going to go economically, politically, and so on. It is important for them to understand what Russia considers to be the main challenges. And this interest has not disappeared. It has not disappeared. It has always been present. Let's not forget that. Yes, many companies, large companies have left. Some have left in a good way. Some have left in a completely bad way. But some have remained and remain on this market. And we, as Russia, are interested in foreign capital coming to our market. We are interested in proving to everyone that we are a reliable country, the best country for capital investment, because no country in the world can develop without foreign investment. It is simply impossible.
The latest events. Our friend Viktor Orban, a friend of our country, has lost the elections. It is not clear whether he will be re-elected now. Are we losing friends in Europe?
Listen, Orban has never been such a friend of ours who is ready to sacrifice himself for you. Orban has never been like that, and Vučić is not like that. Yes, we have a special historical relationship with the Serbs, a special ethnic relationship, a special relationship in faith, and so on and so forth. But this is an independent country that independently chooses its own path of development, which faces its own difficulties, and which independently responds to the challenges with which it copes. The other thing is that Serbia is a country with which we really have a partnership, and these partnerships allow us to discuss the most acute problems. Orban has always been a great pragmatist. He was not our friend, he was a friend of the Hungarian people, and he did what was beneficial to the Hungarians. And often, this benefit coincided with our benefit. And when something becomes mutually beneficial in interstate affairs, it is a partnership.
Well, Pashinyan, for example, cannot be called our great friend. And today's statement that he could easily leave the UDKB sounded like something that could turn around.
Well, we are well aware of Armenia's position on the UDKB. Of course, Armenia has not been actively involved in the work of the UDKB for a long time. We know that the current leadership of Armenia, I would say, is probably artificially trying to put the country at a crossroads. It is going to organize a choice for the country to go towards Europe or towards the EU. We are convinced that if the Euro orientation is put on the scales, or the EU orientation, then the EU outweighs Armenia. This is more profitable for the Armenians. It is more profitable. They earn more money on the EU. They have a better future with the EU. They develop faster with the EU. This will not happen with Europe. But the decision should be made by the Armenian people. And President Putin said, "What is good for us is what is good for the Armenians." After all, there are more Armenians living in our country than in Armenia.
But will the people make such a decision in the end?
We will see. Of course, the authorities will push their own way. But we hope that the ordinary citizens of Armenia will go to the elections. This is their choice.
Dmitry Sergeyevich, what are the prospects of the next telephone talks between Vladimir Vladimirovich and one of the European leaders? And maybe there are already some options with whom? Maybe with Macron?
Look, for several years, we have heard Mr. Macron's statements that he is going to call Putin in the near future. In the near future, it will pass, no one will call anyone, and so on. In fact, for all these 5 years, Putin has been saying that he is open to dialogue. We believe that this is a dead end when the number of problems is growing and the desire to talk is zero. And we are not the initiators of this silence. Putin is open to dialogue. Therefore, if the Europeans move away from their paradigm of non-communication with Russia, it is enough for them to pick up the phone and dial it. They know this number well.